Hi everyone, this is part 2 of video on FIRE, F-I-R-E, which is Financial Independence, Retire Early. So before I was giving a lot of background information on how my husband and I retired at ages 28 and 29. Um, and I want to tell more. So I told you the way that we did it was not flashy. It was basically just grounded in discipline and hard work. So these are two very high values of mine and of Avi's, is to be very disciplined in everything in my life. And I don't think that things just happen as an accident. So maybe at some points in your life, you can get away with certain things. Maybe you have some destructive behaviors that, deep down are not great for you, but it's still kind of working for you, or it worked for you for a long time. So you kept those destructive behaviors incorporated until one day it stopped working for you because at the end of the day, it was a destructive behavior. So I've experienced this for myself. And I have just been basically refining the things in my life one at a time to work out destructive behaviors and to implement, um, you know, the best um, behaviors and practices that just encourage growth and health for myself. So one thing I want to talk about is hard work. Hard work, I mentioned in my last video that I don't like to say, oh, we just worked really hard and that's how we earned a lot of money, because I feel like a lot of people work hard. But I need to make a distinction here. There is a difference between working hard and working smart. So you can work as hard as possible. You could be gardening, and that's a very physically labor intensive job, right? It takes a lot of work. You're probably burning a ton of calories. You are getting a sweat in. You are putting your whole body and mind into it. But at the end of the day, you have the output that you put in. So it's like, this is the garden that I've created, or this is what I've cultivated, and you can see your work there, and it's worth however much it's worth on the market. And that's a lot of hard work. Or working in childcare. I know because I've never worked in childcare myself. However, I did work in an office at a childcare, and I have children. I'm a mother, so no one knows as much as me, or I acknowledge completely how difficult it is to work with young children. It is a full body job, full body, full mind, everything. It tests you like no other job. And again, hard work, not highly valued by society or by the market. Okay. So these are good examples of where you might be working very hard, but you're not necessarily getting back a lot from it. So what we did was we worked both hard, but also smartly. Okay. So we were busy trying to optimize our ability to work hard. So we both had regular office jobs, my husband and I, in Australia when we were going through our FIRE journey. So Avi, I'll take one step back. Avi saw that article in, it would have been 20, I still didn't look it up, thinking 2013 or 2014. It took us just about 4 years to retire. It was somewhere around there because in 2016, August is when we both quit our jobs and left for a big camper van trip. So it must have been 2013, 2012, the end. So he saw that article, heard some guy in a podcast, someone mentioned, Mr. Money Mustache, which I hope you've looked it up by now, but if you haven't, go ahead and look it up, and started reading his articles on his blog about how everyone can retire early, and it's literally just a question of the math and working out the math and applying it to your life, and then it's a matter of coming up with a plan. So that's what we did. We came up with a plan. First, all came from Avi, and then he told me, sorry, the car was about he convinced me to get on board. I was someone who I did not grow up as aware of money as Avi did, for instance. Avi grew up where his family was very aware of money, was very aware of money troubles and what they didn't have, what they could afford and not afford. I was less aware of those things, and I really learned all of that through this journey. Whereas before, money for me was kind of just like, it comes and goes. I deserve a treat. I can buy this if I can afford it or if I want it. And I learned to become more disciplined with how I viewed money and how I spent money through this journey. So he came home, convinced me, you know what, maybe we don't want to work forever. He and I both had plans. We were both in careers. We were going to become managers, and then we were going to buy an apartment, and then we were going to keep making money, and then we were going to buy a car, and then we were going to upgrade. And just like everyone else, a very normal Western template for what you do in your 20s and your 30s, and you're saving money, you have a family, you want to make sure that you can afford certain things for your kids, a certain lifestyle, you want to go on vacations, you want to go on holidays. All of those things are great. I am not downing any of those things. You know what? I am downing those things. I'm saying I understand where the desire comes from, but if you want a different kind of life where you have more control of your life, you cannot just keep upgrading your life. So this is actually what I discovered, and this is the root of what I'm getting at, is there are lots of ways to make money, and you want to be smart with your money. You don't want to make money just to spend it and then need more money the next day. It's not responsible and it's not smart. I don't know anyone who wants to remain dependent on money sources of income at all times, where they're afraid to lose their job. I know so many people who are making a buckload of money. They're making more money than I and Avi ever made, and they are still terrified of losing their source of income. Why? Because their expenses are through the roof. And every time that they started making more money, they lifted up their expenses, they increased their expenses to match that. What does that mean? What does that lead you to? It leads you to becoming more dependent on your income. And also it becomes a huge source of stress. So forget about retiring. Why would you want to become dependent on, the whims of this random company that you might think like your family? Yeah, I'm for family. I've been working for them for 10 years. I've been working for them. My boss and I are private friends, we know each other's kids. And then suddenly it isn't, financially in the picture anymore for you to be for that company, but thank you for your service, right? Or, if something ever happened to you, you're replaceable, okay? Where you're not replaceable is in your personal relationships or within your family or for yourself. Get some independence there. I'm not saying it's bad to work for a company or bad to work for other people, but you want to make sure that it's on your terms, because you're the only one who cares the most about your life and your family and how your life is going to suit you. All right, so that's part 2. Part 3 is coming soon.